Here I go again. Hey guys, has anyone bothered to come across to the other one, or have I annoyed everyone? So, guys, I need a report on whether this is working or not. G'day, Brett. How are you? I don't know whether this is working or not, but we will see. Jason's here. G'day, guys. Give us a report. It works. Trevor. So I can move. I'm not frozen like a pelican like I normally am. Much better. Yes. Moving. That's the trick to it. So, righto. Here we go. Monday Night Live 99. Let's try not to get too tricky with things. So, I've got a story to tell you, actually. Part of the reason why this is happening is that we're getting NBN into the house here. So I'm using this wireless dongle, right? So you've got to have it in exactly the right position for it to be any good at all. And clearly I didn't have it in the right position before. So when I get the NBN, when it finally arrives, I'll get a hard line and run it to the shed. So that'll make it dramatically better. So the good thing is that about Telstra at the moment, I don't know whether anyone's tried to ring Telstra, but they're not answering any phone calls at all. They just say no unless you've got an emergency, and then it's about like I spent 3.5 hours on the phone waiting on hold the other day. So it's a nuisance. So we were forced onto the NBN. I wasn't terribly stoked about that, but anyway, yes. Yes, Mark's here from Metal Detecting Country, New South Wales. He's been texting me on the dog and bone, telling me that I'm no good. So with the shed and what have you, I did have the wireless dongle outside and it was a direct line of sight. But anyway, righto, 99 shows. It's a bit exciting. We've had a lot of ups and downs. 100. I might do a little bit of package of all of the probably. If I leave it to Taylor's been doing all the video editing lately. So on the 100, I might get him to do to come up with something something cool to do for the 100th episode. He will probably just take the piss out of me, just quietly. He will. He's a bit like that. So he'll find 1,000 funny bits in 100 shows. So pretty amazing. 100 shows, 100 odd hours, 90 odd hours, I suppose. It's a lot of it. So righto. So Monday Night Live 99, and tonight's prizes are. So we've got a gold scale here. So the gold scale is a good one we sell in the shop. There is 1,000 of these around. This is one that we've tested and know it works. So yes, absolutely. Then we've got let me get rid of that pan there for a minute. Then we've got these things. I don't know whether everybody's seen these. These are a thing that, let me just lock my phone so I don't go calling anyone. These are a little camera that clips onto your phone like that and turns it into a microscope. So I don't think we'll be able to do anything with it here. but it gives you a microscope view. So, and there's a light on it and all sorts of stuff. So it's a pretty cool little bit of gear. We use them a lot. A lot of the photos you see on a lot of the early photos you see of all those gemstones and stuff that Taylor's been putting up lately, they're all done, or a lot of them are done with that. So they're really cool if you want to go and have a close look at your gold. And of course, we've got a gold pen to give away. It's the Minelab 15-inch one. I'm actually growing. I still like the Super Sluice from Garrett, but I do like this fine riffle. I'm playing with this fine riffle. I'm not 100% sure whether I love it or not yet, but very, very good gold pen. They're very strong. Yeah, so this is for the person. We're going to pick one person for sharing. Because we were so late putting it up, so we've got a share winner tonight. So, right, so that's what's happening. Let me get back over here to the comments. Yeah, so the other thing we're going to do, and tonight I want to talk about, I think when Taylor put it up, he put up the tripod of training. I think that's what he put up. 3 pillars of detecting. Well, there you go. And I call it a tripod, but so it sounds really, really wanky, right? It does. I understand that. So, and I had a look at my notes here just a minute ago and had to have a little bit of a giggle to myself because I found it slightly amusing that the first pillar, if you like, the first tripod of detecting and prospecting is the right gear and know how to use it. Now, clearly, when it comes to IT stuff, someone like Mark and some of these IT guys, Matty Hahn, are far superior than me when it comes to IT. I've got the right gear, I just don't know how to use it. So, but that's the trick. That's the first pillar. You've got to have these 3 things to be any good at either detecting or prospecting, any of that stuff, okay? So, clearly, when it comes to IT, don't come and see me. So, so what do we mean by the right bit of gear? So the right bit of gear is if you're going gold prospecting and you're taking a beach machine, it's obviously not the right bit of gear. Simple as that. If you're on the beach and you're trying to use a specific gold machine, it's not going to work that well. The other thing with it too is, if you go to a gold field that's only got superfine gold and you take a detector in there, you're probably not going to have a lot of success. So they're the sort of things you got to think about, okay? So the second part of that pillar, right, is know how to use it. Now, in these times where we can't go out and we can't go detecting and we can't, all the rubbish that's going on at the moment, which I'm not going to talk about tonight. I'm aware of it, but I'm not going to talk about it tonight because I'm bored with it. So now is the perfect time to know how to use your machine. I don't care whether you've got a 5,000 or a Bounty Hunter Junior. Get out in your backyard, settle the machine down, and learn how to use your machine. Learn how to use it absolutely back to front. Now, a lot of people say you can't run a 5,000 or a 4,500 in town. Well, maybe you've got to turn the RX gain, the stabiliser down. So it is a fantastic opportunity to actually get to know your machine. So, right. So, that's what I like to call the first pillar, if you like. So the right gear. And when I say the right gear, it can be a gold pan, okay? It could be a sluice. It could be a Garrett sluice. So or it could be a 7,000, right? Or it could be an SDC or a AT Max, right? So, so that is the trick with it. Now, to help people along that road, and I know someone Mick just mentioned it there. We're putting out a series of pro tips specifically for machines. So I think we're doing that Fridays or Sundays. I think it's Fridays. Fridays is the pro tips where we pick up a machine and we talk to an experienced user about. Obviously, there is tricks of the trade that are outside the manual, okay? You can read the manual. A lot of people, like I can't be bothered reading manuals, but a lot of people read manuals and you should. But there is tricks of the trade that aren't even in manuals. So, for instance, the ORX, it's got a salt mode. It's not mentioned anywhere in the manual, right? Doesn't tell you how to turn it on, doesn't do anything like that, but it's got a salt mode. No one knows about that unless you tell them. So they're the sort of the sort of tips that that we do on this Pro Detector tip. So Cory went through the 4500 the other day and did a cracking job. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, yep. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to go through every single machine that we can get our hands on. We've had a request for a 3500. We've had a request for an SD 2200. We've already done Go Finds. That's already in production. Vanquish, Equinox, SDCs. We haven't done the 5 yet. We haven't done the 7 yet. ORX is done. So all this stuff is queued up and ready to go. And it's simple, layman's terms. It's no BS. So it's a lot of people are finding it quite successful. So if you've got a 45, that's up already. So yeah. Right. So the second pillar, the second leg in the tripod, if you like, is yes, David. David says are we doing the Fisher? Yes, we will be doing the Fisher machines, particularly the 2 gold bugs. They're cracking gold machines. So, oh yes, Scott mentioned what happened to yesterday's show on the coins. So that's a Sunday show on the coins. I got called away on Friday when I was supposed to record it. So so that's what happened to Sunday's show. I didn't actually get to record it. So, but Taylor was at me about it to do it today because we were talking about sovereigns. I think sovereigns. So Taylor's in on Thursday. We're going to record that Thursday. Yeah, see, Rodney Willett with the 5,000, he can get that thing moving. So Rodney would be a perfect person to come and talk about the 5,000. So Rodney, there's an invitation next time you're in town. Yeah, absolutely, mate. So, yeah, Deus we're going to do. It's a bit more of a. It's fairly complicated, so we'll do that. So. Right, so the second part of this, the tripod, if you like, is location. Now, again, this is a perfect thing to do while all this rubbish is going on. Okay, so when we talk about location, it's all about the research. Okay, now. There's a lot of different ways to do that research, whether it's whether you're a treasure hunter or whether you're a gold person. Yes, so there is a lot of research work you can do and planning your next spot to hit while you can't get out there and go and have a look at it. So there's a lot of work to be done there. Of course, when you're talking relics. Oz at War. We always talk about Oz at War, and it's a fantastic thing, a fantastic resource. And then there's of course Trove. Now Trove is handy for relics, definitely handy for relics. But I've also got a lot of gold information out of it. So for the gold guys, don't discount Trove, because Trove has actually got a lot of information from the gold rush stuff in it. So now a lot of other things to talk about apart from Trove. Now, there's a lot of information in Trove. I'm not discounting Trove, but Ring the Historical Society, some of them are still operating. I have a stack of old books. Old books are fantastic. So I lurk around secondhand bookshops, look in the history section. There's some amazing information about in the history of some of those old books. I found an amazing book about Warwick that talks about all the old butter factories and all the old pubs, and gives you mud maps, and the mud maps are terrible. But there is a lot of information out there that, and quite often, if it's on the internet and it's easy to find, everyone else has found it. That's the trick with researching relics. Okay, so look for these obscure books, out of print books, all that sort of stuff, because they are just gold. So the other thing I should talk about too is talk to some of these old timers out in the bush. Okay, go to the pub on a Friday night. There is a wealth of knowledge in these old timers. I was talking to a bloke the other day, it was like a few months ago, and I was looking at buying. He had a little trommel, more of a sort of a hand-fed trommel. It was probably only about, 400 round, 500 round, about, say, 8 foot long, a couple of metres long. And we got chatting. I said, what'd you use it for, and all this sort of stuff. Anyway, he used it in the 70s and 80s, and it's been sitting in his shed ever since. Still ran and everything like that. And he used it after a crushing mill to take out the coarse stuff to go back in the crusher, right? So, and he changed the screen on it. The screen was relatively new. So he was washing this crush material that obviously the crusher wasn't getting 100%, and so he'd filter it out, if you like, with the trommel. Anyway, I said to him, he mentioned he'd been in Warwick all his life, and I said to him, where were you doing it? And he said, down near such and such, and just off the road there. And sure enough, he'd dropped a shaft in the 70s and 80s, 90 metres on a gold reef, that is probably only about 5 k's. It's on private property now, but about 5 k's from the lease. So I didn't even know that was there. It's not listed in any mining departments. I don't know quite how legal it was, but So just stuff like that. Talking to old timers is just worth its weight in gold. So yes. So research is the key to it. And this can all be done right now. Okay, this is the perfect time to keep your head in the game and work out your research. Now, if we were to talk about gold for a minute, there's a few things. Geomaps, old mines. You can look up the old mines. Now, you've got to. There's a couple of things to bear in mind as well. So the you got to look at some of these old mining reports, particularly in the 1800s, 1850s to 1900, and look at what they were like. What were they doing? Was it an alluvial? Was it deep reef? What were they doing? So when you go into different areas, you're looking for different specific things. So if I was to hit an area that had a lot of deep reef gold and not much alluvial, I would be hitting tailing poles. I would be using small machines, hitting a machine that can hit small targets and hitting those tailing poles and going after the tailing poles. I probably wouldn't worry a whole lot about what's in between, because if there was alluvial there originally, they'd talk about alluvial in the history. And vice versa. You know, I'd leave tailing poles around if it was an alluvial thing, alluvial field. So they're the sort of things you've got to really sort of think through. Okay? The other major mistake I see with people, particularly in gold, is that they get to an area and they just wander off in the bush. Okay? So you are much better off picking a specific spot and working that spot thoroughly with your machine than you are just wandering around the bush. Wandering around the bush is it tends not to get you anywhere near as much gold as picking a hot spot and sticking to it. Okay, so look at your geomaps, get close to an area, go and find the area. Okay, obviously you can't at the moment, but plot that area for you to go and have a look at, and then work that area. It might be a junctioning ground. Work that area, all 4 sides, 5 sides, very, very thoroughly. So yes, so that's the big tip when you're starting out detecting. Don't walk so much. Right. So Greg asked a question here. Never just go and check out an area without research, just for the heck of it. Absolutely. I quite often drive past places and just stop and get out of the car. I don't know where I am really. Don't know on a geomap or anything like that. Don't know whether there's any leases in the area, but I get out of the car and have a look. What you've got to bear in mind with gold particularly, is that, and to a degree relics, is that there are towns that were, from a relic point of view, there are towns that aren't recorded, that were recorded, but it's got lost in history, and all of a sudden there's a mysterious town in the middle of the bush. You just stumble into somewhere, and that's what happens. Now those towns there's no records of a lot of these towns. Okay, they've been lost in time, one might say, and it might have only been a town for a few years. Okay, they are an absolute treasure trove. A town like that. The same thing with patches of ground. I haven't done it for a while, but there's a patch of ground I just drove by and just happened to get out of the car. I just thought, geez, this ground looks good, and got out and had a walk and found a piece of gold. Now, I've got that marked. I know exactly where that is, and I haven't been back there for maybe 10 or 15 years. So that's the trick to, you know, you got to do the research, but once you start to get to know what you're looking at, that's when you can really start to go, well, actually, let's get out of the car here and have a squiz. You know, let's swing a coil here. So, yes, so, right, so, there's a fair few here. I think Dustin's here somewhere. Mark's here. There was a question I wanted to get to. Low and slow. Dusty says, gold has buddies. Yes. Rodney asked a question. Okay, I wanted to get to this question. Double D coils are so underrated. Why? They work good in the gold fields, and you can up the gain and stabilizer. So the way I think about that, yes, double D coils can be more reliable in the can be more easier to run in the gold fields. They are less sensitive than a mono coil. Okay, so but you're right. If you're running a mono coil, and if you're running a mono coil in highly mineralized ground, sometimes. So there's a chart, and I'll pull it up for you next week, Rodney. Or I might even just put it up on the page and do a post about it. There's a chart that shows it's a graph that says, and it shows the performance of a monocoil going like this when it as the mineralization grows, okay? And then there's a performance chart for a double D that goes the opposite direction for as the ground gets more mineralized. So there is a point when it becomes heavily mineralized that you are better with a double D coil. You will find more results. So it's about maximizing your return for what you've got, okay? But sometimes in really super heavily mineralized ground, you are better off with a double D coil. But normally, you are better off with a monocoil, okay? So, yeah. So, yeah. So that's that question. I will do a post on it through the week. So if you're interested in that, keep your eyes peeled on the posts, because that's quite an interesting subject. And the problem with it is that crossover point is who knows where it is, because they've put it on this chart to show where, you know, at some point you're better off with a double D, but how do you know? So it makes it very, very hard. So, right. Right, let me just scroll down here. What was that one there? Right, so right. Okay, I'm just scrolling through. Okay. There's lots of conversations going on. Jason, yes, we can help you with the Gold Monster. Give us a ring in the shop. I won't go through it all now. We are doing a video on the Gold Monster, which is coming out shortly. Okay, so yeah, we will get to the Gold Monster because it's a pretty popular machine. So let's get back to tripod training. Okay, so we've sort of covered the right gear and knowing how to use it. Okay, then we've gone being in the right spot, location. Okay, so the third leg of the tripod, if you like, the pillars, right, is there's Calum Grant. I think that's the same Calum. Used to work for me at the cami shop. Hey, Calum. The third pillar is attitude, right? And I think that 33% of prospecting and detecting is attitude. I know that sounds a lot, okay? But when you start not in the mood for things, when you get tired, you've driven a whole long way and you're knackered and you just want to get out of the car, right? Quite often you're not at your best then. So, yeah, so quite often you're not at your best. And you get to a point, and I don't know whether some of the experienced ones will do this, but when I've been detecting a little bit, I sort of get into a zen moment, I become so in tune with the machine that you're just completely in sync with it. And really, I need a week's worth of training or something like that, a week's worth of detecting to really get to that stage. And I don't probably do it consistently enough to get there, to get into that time frame quick enough. But it's about getting in sync with the machine. I very, very rarely find any gold on day trips when I'm driving. When I drive 3 hours out to the goldfields, detect for 4 or 5 hours, and then 3 hours home. I really, really never get I've never really have much success detecting, particularly in new spots. Okay, the lease is a little bit different, but I never have a lot of success detecting then. It's always pretty ordinary because I've just driven 3 hours. I get out of the car. I think, right, I got to go and detect, and then an hour in, you're sort of going, oh well, geez, I got to get going in a few hours, sort of thing. So, yeah. So I find that day trips are terrible for me, but yeah. I don't know whether other experienced blokes do it. Someone mentioned confidence. It was on my list there. Like the ability, like they say the hardest bit of gold to find is your first bit. And it is the hardest bit of gold because you've got no confidence in the machine. You've got no confidence in yourself that you can find a bit. Okay. Once that first bit starts to flow, it really does become much, much easier, sort of thing. So, yeah. So they're what I call the 3 pillars of detecting, and you need all 3 of them. Someone mentioned luck there. I don't think luck comes into it. I think you get to a point where luck becomes less and less. Yeah. Yep. So, yeah. Luck, some people say luck plays into it, but if a lot of experienced prospectors, like for me, let's just talk about me. If I'm honest with myself, when I've found when I have good trips, it's when I've got a few days, I'm settled into it, I get a bit zen with it. I've done a lot of research. I'm actually on the game. Okay? When I'm rushing or, I've got demands on me, right? I'm rushing in there. I reckon I've walked over more gold than I've found, just by doing that. So, yeah. So, Yep. And we talked about attitude and we talked about persistence. So you've got to be persistent. You've just got to keep going, and it almost helps to go and enjoy the trip, whether you find a bit or not. Take that pressure off things. Okay, it is much easier when you get your first bit, but take that pressure off yourself. So, yeah. So, yeah. So, yeah. Right, so what do we got here? Yeah, there's hours and hours of work put into research. I hope that helps some people, because I see a lot of prospectors out in the bush, and, I I don't like to interfere, but quite often they ask me questions, and I'm fairly honest. So, but yeah, so yeah, those first nuggets, guys. There's a few people there saying that they're still looking for the first nugget. They'll come. You've just got to be patient. There's a guy out at Warwick. He was 4 years every week. Went out for a day or two a week, and took 4 years. Okay, but sometimes that's just what it takes. So, okay, so Lisa, where do you go for your research? If you're talking about gold, I tend to go to the mining department websites in your state. They're probably the best bet. They're a good start. Geo maps are a fantastic thing. So you're looking for anomalies and that sort of things. Australian Geological Travel Maps is a fantastic resource to have because it loads the mines. You can load the geo maps, you can load all that sort of stuff. So from that point of view, I do that. Then I gather information from old timers and, stuff I've seen, and so I mean it's a bit of hard work, but it's what I need to do, sort of thing. So just hang on. Got to put this thing under my. I'm sitting on a milk crate in the laundry. You might have. There we go. And my bum's getting a bit sore, to be honest with you. So there's Baz there and Scott. So okay, we'll talk about this bloody flu virus. Brisbane beaches, Coolangatta surface, and the Spit have been closed. If you go to metal detecting, the Gold Coast Kaz's page, she has the exact tower areas that are closed. Not all the beaches are closed on the Gold Coast, but some are. So that's the latest update there. So the beaches are starting to get closed down the Gold Coast. So Glenn, thanks very much. So righto. So see, Neil's got the perfect touch. He found 2 nuggets within 10 minutes the first time he touched an SDC. Well, Neil, I'm happy for you, mate. It doesn't happen like that for a lot of people. So well done, mate. So So right. So let me just have a Russell Garrett thoughts on a John Lang gold detector. I think you mean Jack Lang gold detector. If they're the little cheapies, they're a little cheapy. So with gold machines, let's be honest, you get what you pay for. So if for a gold machine, I think an entry level gold machine is probably $1,000. Minimum probably Gold Monster ORX. So if you buy a cheap machine, you buy a cheap machine. So right. Okay. So right. Let's just see here. So, guys, I'll just scroll through here. Lynn made 2 good points. Apparently, the salt mode is now in the manual on the ORX, so that's very, very good. And then the other thing, we are going to have a bush ranger night. Things have been a bit topsy-turvy, so, But, So, Brett says no nuggets at Warwick yet. Brett, they're out there. Trust me, they're out there. There is a lot of good gold coming out of Warwick. Okay, my advice to you with Warwick is get remote. Get remote. Get into that forest and don't go to where anyone else has gone. Get remote. So, yeah. So, absolutely. So, okay. Oh, Dazza asks, older or newer model 4500? I don't know. I haven't spent enough time. Like, I've got a new model 45 as my sort of backup machine, loan machine. I loan it to people. If their machine breaks, I go, here you go, try this thing. So, I think they're both pretty good. Like, let's be honest, the 45's a very, very, very good machine. So, yeah, the 45's a great machine. So, yeah. Patterson Maz says, what's a bush ranger night? Well, this show is just not normally me rabbiting. Well, it's mostly me rabbiting, but we also dive into history. This year, and sort of the last bit of last year, has been a disaster for programming, one might say. As many of you know, my wife ended up in hospital for 7 weeks as a precaution. So that sort of, and I became a single dad for a while. So that sort of slowed the production of these shows on. And then, things have this year have been a bit all over the place. And I don't know whether you heard it before. We've got a little baby in the house, so that's why I do them at home now. So I'm not at the shop. So, right. So, yes. Let's say someone, Dan Kelly, stuck in Seymour, Victoria, on my way to WA, going into relic hunting as an STC, you're on an old army camp. But, well, Dan, looks like you left your run too late, so to get to WA. So I don't know where you're heading to next. So, so yes, that's some big news. The 5000, the GPX 5000 has had a price reduction, $500 price reduction in recommended retail price. So that's fantastic news that's fantastic news if you're looking for a new machine. So it's fantastic. So it's a great machine. Of course, the 4500 is not available new anymore. So yep. $5,000 for a 5000. So Shane says, should I buy a 45 or a 5000? The 5000's got extra timings that you might find handy. Quite, it's up to you. The 45s you can find, I would look for a 45 with an Evo coil second hand. The Evo coil, at 3,500 is better value than $5,000. Because at $5,000 you probably still want to put an Evo coil on it. 5,000 with a 12-inch Evo, it's deadly. I run a 14x9 Evo on my 4500. I love that coil. I can just poke it in a little bit more, but I think those two coils, the 12-inch Evo and the 14x9 Evo, are absolute quality. So, everything's closed in most places. So, I don't know what Judy's talking about, but she's found something underground. So, yeah. Yeah. So Nikki's made an offer if anyone needs a chat, just sing out. I've done a video on that too, so if people do need a chat, people are around, sing out, because it's a mental time. This will be a history. This is a history-making event. So we are living through something that they will be talking about in 100 years' time. There is no doubt in my mind about that. What the history books say about our reaction to this and how we handle this, I don't know, to be honest with you. I suspect there might be, I think history might look upon us differently to how we see ourselves, I suspect. So, anyway, let's not get into that. Righto, guys, so let's not forget our prizes. I have, we got the little clip-on camera here. Fantastic little camera for getting close-up pictures of your gold. We sell them in the shop. I've got no idea how much for. They're about $20 or something like that. The scales. Yes, the scales. Very, very good scales. All you need to do to enter both of those prizes is to make a comment, and we'll get a comment picker running in just a minute. And then, of course, for those that have shared the live stream, either before the live stream on the original post or during the live stream, there's an opportunity to win a gold pan. So we might just crack on with that a little bit now, actually. I started late. It's getting late. We'll go from there, hey? So let me just get my comment picker up and going here. Also, if you've got any last questions, I'm going to hang around for five minutes after I draw the prizes. So if you, quite often people can't get a comment in while we're live. So we're looking at a couple of different ways to manage that. So, but I will be here for 5 minutes afterwards, after the show ends, just to have a bit of a chat. So, right. So, okay. So, let me just get this fired up here. Sorry, guys, if I look a bit... I've got a microphone jammed up my nose here. So, why is that comment feed? Let me just see if I can grab that comment feed. Let me just... sorry, guys. What I'm trying to do, guys, is I'm trying to set this computer here up as a mobile feed. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to pop this out because it's not working here. So let me just get rid of this. I was trying to get it out as a from the feed, but I can't get it out from the feed. So, So here we go. So let's get this. Righto, here we go. So. Okay, so we've got, let me just run this. Here's a chili dog. I'm surprised he's been so quiet. He's having a battle at the moment with the possum that lives in the shed. The possum is far smarter than this dog at the moment, but I think that will change. So, right, so, and then what we'll do is we'll open that up in a new tab. And... right, so for our first prize for the gold scales, okay, we have a winner now. Let me run that. Lisa Kuzna, congratulations. That's coming your way. Please contact me after the show. That makes things so much easier. Then the microscope clip on the back of the phone thingy. That goes to, let me just run this here again, Patterson Maz. I think I talked about one of Patterson Maz's comments during the show. So, and then the gold pan for sharing this live stream goes to Rhonda Nelligan. I think it's Rhonda Nelligan. So congratulations, Rhonda Nelligan. Yeah, congratulations. You've won the gold pan. So yeah, well done, guys. Congratulations on that. So congratulations, guys. So well done. Now, what we'll just do here is we'll get these comments. So next week, the 100 show, we'll do a bit of a review. We'll get into some greatest finds and all that sort of stuff. And so that's sort of the end of the show tonight. It's sort of the end of the show tonight. However, I am going to, just hang around for a minute. And if anyone has got some questions, probably now is the time, once all the congratulations are over. That dog's eating something that he shouldn't be eating, I think. So, but yeah, so if there's any questions, now's the time. What do you got there? So, yeah, Glenn, we'll get some big prizes going for the 100. So you never know what the 100 is. We might go a bit mental actually, to next week. So stay live. Yes, Mark, podcast is on the list to do. We haven't quite got there yet. I need to start the podcast going sooner rather than later. Hang on a tick. I got a dog trying to chew on the internet dongle cord. I thought that might be a disaster. So, Nikki, when's the pay dirt back? The pay dirt will be back in the next. Come up here. Come on. Up here. Come on. Up you get. Sorry, pay dirt's going to be back in the next week or so. Next 2 to 3 weeks. So what we're doing with the shop is because it's slowed down in the shop, we're going to be running to keep everyone employed. We're going to be they're going to be working a lease. So that's really the short version. So as soon as we get back out in that lease, we'll be on it, and there'll be pay dirt around then. So yeah, I haven't been out there much, and yeah. So Tom Boston got a good question. What setup would you recommend for run a wireless 4500? I run mine wireless. I actually do it a different way. I just basically put a booster and the speaker and the battery on the machine, so the machine is just completely independent of me. That's how I run how I run the 45. So yeah, that's how I run it wirelessly. I don't mind mucking with it I don't like mucking with it. So if I keep it all powered and just run speaker on the actual 45, that's how I find it best. So Lee, yes, the shirt arrived this afternoon. I was going to actually wear it tonight, but I left it at work. So the Bundy group has got a really cool shirt. So I like the blue sleeves on it actually. Todd Commons, can you ring me tomorrow, please, mate? I actually forgot. I've lost your phone number, Todd. So can you ring me tomorrow? 11-inch coil tech with flames, and we'll see what we can do, Todd. That's why I've been slack. To be honest with you, I clean forgot who it was. To be honest, so yeah. So let me work on that for you. So Daryl, detector training videos, the detector pro tips are on YouTube, on Gold Diggers MD page. Yeah. So yes, that's the best place. So, Greg, is the GPX 5000 equal to the Deus? No, definitely not, Greg. So the GPX 5000 is like a thoroughbred of gold prospecting, right? The Deus is sort of a thoroughbred of relic hunting, okay? So completely different machines. Will the 5000 find relics? Yep. Will the Deus find gold? Yep. But geez, it's hard work either way around. So comparing the two is just completely unrealistic. So Dean Paul, what's the biggest nugget I've found? 2.3 ounces. It's not the world's biggest nugget by any stretch of the imagination, but I live in Queensland where there's not a lot of big nuggets. So I have found a lot, and I mean a lot, of between 0.5s and 0.8s, stacks of them. But yeah. Right, so someone just said, are the public allowed to go to the lease? No. It's classified as a campground, so it's closed for who knows how long. It's just going to be mental. We can't even do training out there. Yes, so yeah. Yeah, I've got lots of people I've forgotten to ring, so yes, so hey Chili, come up here. Come up here. Come on. Up you come. Up you come. Come on. I know you don't like this box, it's too slippery. Anyway, but Chili was going to Star, but he's actually found an old rag that is far easier to catch than the possum, and he's given up on the possum. He's at my feet trying to kill a rag, so, and being fairly successful at it too. So, yeah, there's always, so when we talk about gold nuggets, right? Baz talks about there's a talk of a 12.5 kilo nugget found at Talbot the start of the year. You don't hear about the nuggets found. You don't hear about the you don't hear about the big stuff. You don't hear about the kilo in, just south of the border, Queensland border in northern New South Wales. You didn't hear about that, right? No one hears about that. So, yeah. So, yeah, that's the thing with these big nuggets, right? You don't hear about them. Most people keep them pretty quiet. So, yeah. Yes, Patterson. Chili is a red cattle dog. And Chili is an apt description of his personality too. He's a beautiful, He's a beautiful, soft dog and just wants to be with you, but he's a fraction nuts. And when I say a fraction, I mean like that much nuts. So, yeah. So, Bodell's back. Good to see Bodell. So, yeah. Sandy. Yeah, Victoria. Like, Victoria is known for those big nuggets, so that's not unheard of sort of thing. So, yeah. So, Chili is 9 months old. He's going to be a big lump of a thing. So, yeah. So, yeah. But he's a good dog. He's been mate. He just wants to be with me all the time. As annoying as that is sometimes, he's he just wants to be with you all the time. So, yeah. So, right. Is there any other questions? Yep. Oh yeah, like I was sitting on the back deck there probably 18 months ago, and these two blokes, I heard a cop car down like a mile, like I could just hear a cop car. And I'm sitting on the back deck having a smoke, and I'm looking at the backyard. It's this time of night sort of thing, pretty dark out, and two blokes jumped over the back fence, ran across the backyard, jumped over the next fence. Right, the cop car come up the street, and I thought, oh, they're after those two blokes. Anyway, this neighbourhood used to be really, really quiet, and I've had this place 15 years, so used to be really, really quiet, all retired old people, and yeah. Yeah. So once that happened, I said to Annette, "Oh, we need to get ourselves a big dog." So, and my family's always had cattle dogs, and yeah, I've always had blue ones. So, and last, at the nugget hunt last year, actually, my wife rang me and said, "Oh, there's something in the backyard when you get home." So I get home and there's this red catalogue pup running around the backyard. So, yeah, he's been a good fella. So, yeah. Yeah. So, right. So, yeah. Righto, guys, if there's no more questions, we might call it quits, go and see how the family's going up there. Yeah, so, yeah, we'll go from there. So, yeah. Always, yes. Righto, guys. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Make sure you tune in next week. Now the people that come just for prizes have left. We're probably going to give away a detector next week, so we'll put it out there. So make sure you tune in next week. I want you guys particularly, I want you guys particularly to have a chance to win that. So yeah, righto, guys. Thanks very much, mate, and thanks very much, guys, and we'll see you all next week. Righto, see you guys. Bye. Hey, Chili Dog. Hey, Chili Dog. Hey. Good dog. Good dog.